Om Shanti. Today Baba says that we are on a spiritual pilgrimage, and this word spiritual is very interesting because we hear this word a lot even before Gyan, but nobody in the world knows what it means. And spiritual means of the spirit. So it is related to the soul. So when Baba says you are on a spiritual pilgrimage, it means that the soul is on a pilgrimage. And this is a first because we have taken our bodies on pilgrimage and we have washed our body, but there has not been any pilgrimage where the soul has been, and no pilgrimage where the soul has become purified. So this is something. And then Baba today says a very, very interesting thing. Baba says that people who go to Kashi stay pure, but people who live in Kashi don't stay pure. Yes, so now, and then Baba uses this example to say that in this old world, you always have give and take with impure souls. So, even if I go to a pilgrimage place, so even if I go with a group physically, who have common intentions and common goals, and we stick to pure food and even if it's not onion, garlic or something, but at least, people refrain from non-vegetarian and no alcohol and stuff. But the place you're going to is full of people who are not practicing all of that. And then when you go there, you have all your interaction, all your give and take. So you eat food prepared by them or you interact with them and they are in a certain frequency, and then all the exchange, you give your money to them, all the impure souls. And Baba says, then what does it end up in finally? So Baba says in this, and when you say that whenever we think about a pilgrimage, so we are talking about going to a place which is pure. Yes, but in this world, there is no place which is pure anymore, because everywhere there are people, and people create the vibrations of a place, and those people are vicious. So obviously those places are also vicious, and where there is lust, anger, ego, attachment, greed, there is only viciousness. And I'm certain that no pilgrimage place can vouch that we have people here who do not engage in lust, anger, ego, attachment, and greed. And if souls engage themselves in these activities, then obviously the vibration of that place is nothing but pure, nothing but impure. So we need to understand these things, and this is why Baba says, now it's time that you set out on a spiritual pilgrimage, and you, the soul, have to go on this pilgrimage. So obviously the one who doesn't have to go, the body and this physical context that we keep carrying in our man and buddhi all day, has to be left behind. So even when a person goes on a pilgrimage, he leaves his physical relationships behind. So here you have to leave behind everything physical, everything of this physical world, because you, the soul, has to travel with the man and buddhi. So, how do we prepare for this pilgrimage? We detach our man and buddhi from this physical world. Yes, and in the meditation, I was giving the commentary that you use the power to pack up. So, just like you pack your things, so here you pack your man and buddhi and sanskar, and you travel light. So, you just shed all the baggage. So, everything that weighs you down, all the memories and the body conscious identities and all the belief systems which keep you very tied to this physical world, you have to shed them, and you have to come to the awareness that I am just a soul. I am so light. I'm such a point. I'm such a subtle point of light that I can fly. So you have to come to that place where you're ready to travel. And you can only do that when you become a point, because you know what can go beyond. So only a point can travel from the physical to the non physical realm. So when you come to this awareness that I'm just a point, very light, very subtle, very pure, and you come to this realization and experience of a point, then you can take off. And then you can, with your man and buddhi, go to that world of purity. So, I played this song before the class, which was Chalo Kare Hum Sair Ruhani. And that's a pilgrimage song, and in that song, there is a mention of 5 places of pilgrimage. So it's not just the soul world. So I told you that when you say a pilgrimage place, it means a pure place. So there are many places of purity which you can visit. So when you shift your consciousness to the soul world where there is only purity and light, so that's a place where I, the soul, experience a pure state. Yes. And then in that world of light, you are with Baba, and Baba is the ocean of purity. So that's one point of pilgrimage. And then when you shift your consciousness to you being a deity in the golden age, then that's another point of pilgrimage. So when you are a deity and in that world where you are in relationships and between matter, and you see how you use your power of purity to conduct yourself. So you use the power of pure thoughts, pure words, and pure actions there. So it's pure love, pure cooperation, pure happiness in the golden age. And it's pure thoughts that get the work done. So do you know that even technology will work through the switch button of thought? So you just have to think that your aircraft is starting and your Pushpak Viman will start, and with your thought you can direct it. So you don't need to use the steering wheel or something. You can just direct it with your thought. So just go, move your consciousness to the world of purity and peace and happiness, where everything works with thought power, and the power of your pure thoughts, the power of your pure words, the power of pure conduct, where you give and take with purity. There is no attachment, there is no lust, there is no greed involved in any human interaction. So when you move your consciousness to that world, then, and this, so the whole point of this pilgrimage is to become Sato Pradhan. Yes, and how do you become Sato Pradhan? So with every, some people undertake pilgrimages in the world, and they visit 4 to 5 pilgrimage places. Yes, so char tirth, panch tirth, they will do all of that. And then here we are having 5 pilgrimage places which I, the soul, will visit. And each place purifies you, each state of consciousness purifies you in a certain way. So, we have these belief systems, these vicious belief systems, these vicious ideas, this materialistic consciousness that, money will get work done, or contacts will get work done, or a healthy body is very important. But when you shift your consciousness to Satyug, you see that the power of purity gets everything done. And then you start to wash yourself of the limiting materialistic belief system that it is material acquisitions that will get the work done. So, every stage where you are going as a spiritual pilgrim, as in your consciousness, is purifying you and making you Sato Pradhan. So, in the soul world, when you are sitting as a soul, naked, and Baba in the Murli says that it is said that you come naked and you go naked. So in Hindi they say nange aaye, nange jana hai, and nange doesn't mean without clothes. Nange means without a body. So you come without a body, you go without a body, and when you go to the soul world and sit in that world of light without a body, and you look at your Baba who is the almighty and bodiless, then you realize your spiritual power. You realize that you as a soul are complete and you are capable of peace and happiness and purity and power despite the body. So the body is redundant when it comes to realizing spiritual power and capacity and virtues. So you are able to wash yourself off of body consciousness in the soul world, and you are able to understand the power of pure intentions and purity in the golden age. And then when you shift your consciousness to your deity form, which is worshipped in the temples, yes, so then you see that, and when you look around, even now you can see that people are going to the temples and worshipping your forms. So it is your deity form, the image of your deity form, which a person goes and worships in a temple. And when you move your consciousness to the fact that you are that deity who they are worshipping and calling out, then you understand that if you can, just by your form, just when people go, and there was this one brother and he said, Didi, you know what? He came once to the center, and the second time he came, he told me, Didi, I want to take you somewhere. So I said, where do you want to take me? So he said, there is this temple, Didi, and this temple is a very celebrated temple, and it's in the outskirts, so not many people can reach there all the time. But I have been visiting that temple for maybe 20 years now, and I go there every day. And then when I go there, I feel something. So I said, what do you feel there? So I said, I just feel like I feel like my burden is gone, and I feel light, and I feel like somebody is protecting me, and I'm being nurtured by somebody in that temple. So I said, okay. So I told him, you take the course, and after 15 days, we will talk about this. And then he undertook the course, and then he said, so after 15 days, I asked him, so do you still want to take me to the temple? So he said, no, Didi, I think you're living in the temple. So I feel the same here also. So I feel light and I feel like I'm without burden, and I feel the protection and the nurture that I feel there. So Baba says that when when people visit the temple where your images are situated, they experience something. Yes, so they experience something. And what do they experience? They experience your complete stage which you have created in Sangam Yuga. So, at this time when Baba comes and he invokes the divinity within us, and we come to our complete self. So the image of that complete self is sitting in that temple, and that image is able to give an experience, and that experience is connected to the memory that the Bhagat is carrying. Okay, so basically, let me give you a very simple example. So when you love somebody and you have feelings for them, then those feelings emerge even when you smell their perfume or look at their photograph. Yes, so that feeling is a memory locked away in your subconscious, and that feeling emerges when you look at the photograph. Yes, so you felt something with a person, and then that feeling is locked away in your consciousness as a memory, and that memory comes up or emerges when you look at their photograph, or you smell the perfume, or sometimes, when you meet them in a different birth, you are able to feel that same feeling. And that's why, because the soul recognizes the soul. So when a Bhagat visits a temple, it is not the idol that gives them that feeling. It is that memory with the Chaitanya deity which they are carrying in their memory track that gets unlocked, and then they feel that feeling again. But when did that experience happen? That experience happens now. So when we become deities and there are people who meet us and then they feel something, and uh, when we get closer to our divine state, then people will very in words they will tell you that I felt like I met my godmother, or I met my godfather, and I met someone. And why they would say that is because Baba has made you like him. And connected to this is what we will talk about, Man Manabhav, which comes in the Murli today. But what I'm saying is, when you shift your consciousness that you are that same deity who is able to give an experience and satisfy the Bhagat even today, then you pull out that capacity within yourself to understand the hearts of people and quench their desires now. And it's not something magical that the heart needs. So there has been so many studies in the world and surveys in the world about what the human heart seeks. And when you look at those studies, they say that every human heart longs for peace and love and joy and happiness. and security. Yes, so if so when a person comes to you and you are able to, you are vibrating at that frequency of peace and love and joy and security, then they are able to feel that in your presence. And that's why when they look at the idols, they feel the same after so many years and so many births. And when they go to the temple, that part of their memory which was locked away gets unlocked. I don't know whether I've been able to explain it, but I've tried my best. And that's why Baba says you go and shift your consciousness and take it to you sitting in the temple and your idol giving that experience to the deity. And then you are able to, and so it's cyclical, yes? So what you do now is celebrated later. And now when you remember what is celebrated, it helps you come back to the awareness of who you are. So Baba says, look at the temples, look at the deities in the temple, you are that deity. So that helps us come back to the realization of who we are. And then who we are is celebrated in the path of bhakti. So it's a cycle. So you don't know which came first and which came later. And there is no first and later, so it's a cycle. So Baba says, move your consciousness to that state of purity which is celebrated in the temple, which bhagats are able to feel even today. And then you move your consciousness to the fact that God Himself chooses you to be His instrument in Sangam Yuga. And you are not an ordinary person, you are a Brahmin. And God comes and adopts you through the body of Brahma and makes you His own and asks you to do His task. So when you shift your consciousness to this elevated realization of who you are the one. And today in the Murli, Baba says, you are very dear to me because you are my helpers in this task of transformation. And just think about God coming and telling you, you are my helper. So Baba says, just live in that joy of who you are and move your consciousness to this elevated position that I'm the one who God chooses to be His helper. And that's a very pure place to be in. It's full of pure pride, you know. It's a pride that makes you responsible. So it's pure pride. So Baba says then you can fill yourself with pure pride, with a lot of swaman about who you are. And that's a very pure position within your consciousness to take. And then Baba says that you are the angel, and every organ of your body is used to deliver Baba's message. Your eyes, your mouth, your hands, your thoughts, your vibrations, your attitude. So you are that angel whose every organ is vibrating with purity and who God uses to send out His message. So Baba says, don't take anything that belongs to you ordinarily, because Baba uses everything that you have to deliver His message. And Baba says, when you travel this, when you make this spiritual pilgrimage, then it really cleanses you of all your impurity and body consciousness. And when you just, when you, the soul, move yourself, move your consciousness to these different 5 states. And I will tell you, in other places, Baba has also mentioned that you can also shift your consciousness to Madhuban, so to Mount Abu. So those of you who have not been to Mount Abu, make a plan soon. So there are announcements repeatedly about visiting Mount Abu, and I would request and urge you that you go to Madhuban, because it's so people go to hill stations as visitors, and we go to the most beautiful place, spiritually, physically, every which way, and we experience what it means to be in the lap of God, and in God's home as a child. And Baba says, whenever you feel low, you can also, sometimes move your consciousness that you belong to that spiritual home, Madhuban, and you can remember your experiences of feeling Baba very physically and practically in Madhuban. So that also, Baba says, is a pilgrimage where you can move your buddhi to. And so a pilgrimage is supposed to make you Sato Pradhan, and in the world it doesn't happen. So even if people go and they think that they have washed away their sins in the Ganga, they are the same sinful selves, and they keep conducting themselves in the same way as they did before going on the pilgrimage. But Baba says, when you go on this spiritual pilgrimage, every time you go to these 5, 6 places, you you return purer, and then your conduct is different. And then ultimately, at the end of this pilgrimage, which is this pilgrimage has to be done continuously until Sangam Yuga ends. And then Baba says, then this will shift you to to a living pilgrimage, which is the golden age, and to a living pilgrimage, which is the soul world. So this is the pilgrimage from which you don't make a return into the impure world. You shift permanently to a pure world. So this is something. And I also want to talk about Man Mana Bhav today. So we hear this expression in the Murli every day, remember me. And then sometimes we understand what remember God means. Sometimes we don't understand what remembering God means. And today Baba says that, so in the Gita it is said, be Man Mana Bhav. And Man Mana Bhav means God says, so Gita is Bhagwanuvach. So it is said in the Gita that God says, connect your mind to my mind. So when you say Man Mana Bhav, it means connect your mind to God's mind. And when we say remember, when Baba says remember me, he means connect your mind to his mind. And what is in God's mind? God's mind is full of truth and peace and purity and power. So when you connect to God's mind, you connect to everything that's in his mind, the feelings, the pictures, the images, the truth of the whole creation and creator. So that is what it means to remember God. Remembering God doesn't mean remembering just a point. Remembering God means connecting your mind to the mind of God. And God gives you a peek into his mind in the Murli. So, you want to, I once talked to a psychiatrist and I asked her, so how do you, so when a patient comes to you, how do you decide where they are at? So how do you come to the conclusion that they are ill and they need help, or how do you ascertain the degree of their illness? So she said, you make them talk. You make them talk, you make them write, you make them answer, and when they do that, you have a you have a doorway into their mind and their state of mind. So I said, so I was explaining Gyan to her, and I said, exactly, this is how you have a doorway into God's mind. So God speaks, God talks, God writes the Murli for us. And when you are reading the Murli, you can peek into God's mind and you can see what is there in God's mind. And when you think about the contents of the Murli, then you are connecting your mind to God's mind. So when you think about the truths and the ideas and the love and the peace that flows from the Murli, so you are connecting your mind to God's mind. And that's what remembering Baba means. This is why churning, reflection, um, or dwelling over Murli points, dwelling over ideas that Baba gives you in the Murli, dwelling over the sweet words and feeling the sweetness of the words that Baba spoke in the Murli. Everything is Man Mana Bhav. So all of that is Man Mana Bhav. And Baba says, you be Man Mana Bhav. So Baba says, and today we are talking about how to be Sato Pradhan. So these are methods to be Sato Pradhan: the spiritual pilgrimage, or connecting your mind to God's mind, thinking, churning the contents of the Murli in your mind, and feeling the words that Baba spoke to you in the Murli, and personally experiencing the relationship that Baba is carrying out with you by meeting you every day through the Murli is your connection with Baba. It is Man Mana Bhav. And then there is another thing which I want to point out, which is why to become Sato Pradhan. Because you see that so our spiritual stage is like so let's put it this way. Sometimes you want to change your sanskars. So you want to change one bad habit, one weak habit, but your habits are a consequence of your spiritual stage. So a soul has 83 births recorded in it, and a soul has all the sanskars in it. But which of them gets activated depends on the spiritual stage. So your consciousness is responsible for which of your sanskars remain active. And let's take a very practical example for it. So you are the same person, but when you are with your parents, you are different. When you are with your colleagues, you are different. And when you are with your juniors or people who work for you, you're different. And why is it so? Because when you're with your parents, your consciousness is that of a child. When you're with the people who work for you, you are the boss. So when your consciousness shifts, the set of sanskars that emerge with them are different. And this is why people say that company colors. So when you are in a certain company, that sanskars will emerge. Yes. But so when we understand this thing, we understand that if we want to shift if we want our Sato Pradhan sanskars to be always active, then in our consciousness, we have to become Sato Pradhan. So it will not happen if you just want one sanskar to shift. And this is why when Baba comes, Baba doesn't say, don't do this, do that. Yes, he says that sometimes, but that's not what he focuses on. Every day he says, be soul conscious, remember me, go on a spiritual pilgrimage. And today Baba says the spiritual pilgrimage is a very good topic. Teach everybody this. Why? Because this is what he recommends for behavioral change. Baba says that if your consciousness shift, automatically the way your mind functions or your buddhi discerns and decides, or the sanskars that emerge will shift. So Baba says, try to take this journey of the spiritual pilgrimage and try to connect your mind with Baba's mind all the time, so that your sense of self, your sense of who you belong to, your sense of what you're responsible for, your sense of your duty, your sense of what's going on, your sense of what is this all about and what does it mean is going to shift accordingly. And when all of that shifts, then how you respond to it, it's going to shift automatically. Because if your sense of what's going on is not shifting, then how you respond to it is not going to shift. So this is why Baba says that you keep doing what I say, whether it is about churning gyan or undertaking the spiritual pilgrimage or connecting your mind to my mind. And this will help you shift your consciousness. And when you become Satopradhan, your Satopradhan sanskars will emerge automatically. Okay. And then in the Murli, Baba today says that, so Baba uses this. So I told you, you can always repeat the sweet words that Baba tells you in your mind and feel the love of Baba. And Baba says, you children become the father's helpers every cycle. This is why you are sweet spiritual children. So Baba calls us sweet spiritual children. And Baba says, you are my helpers. And in the blessing, Baba teaches us a very beautiful and simple way to be Baba's helpers. And how do we be Baba's helpers? Baba says, your internal form is a very powerful form, right? And you lose a sense of who you are because you are very attached to your senses. You are attached to what you see, hear, everything. So whatever is going on around you makes you lose your sense. You hear a word of insult and then you forget that you are very powerful and you have a lot of power to tolerate. So Baba says, if you just did one thing, which is stay introverted. And what is introverted? So Baba says, if you just maintain this awareness that I, the soul, am separate from the body and I'm not under the influence of the senses. So if you practice this in meditation, seeing, believing, establishing, feeling and experiencing that you, the soul, are able to maintain your peace, purity, state of happiness and joy despite everything going around you. So what do we do precisely in meditation? We sit with eyes open and there are sounds and sights in front of us, and we just try to focus on the image of the beautiful star that I am and the feeling of peace and purity that is very personal to me. And we try to sustain that despite whatever is going on outside of us. And when you do that, then you create this stage where all through the day, when you're working, listening to everything, listening to words that are aimed at you and sights that are there, which those who have bodily significance for you, you will be able to stick to your state of purity and peace if you have done that practice. And when you do that, then people will see that this person is so powerful and they are able to stay stable and calm in such situations. And then they will be tempted to think who made them like this. And then you will be able to tell them that it is this Raj Yoga course where it all begins. So, so Baba says, there you can become Baba's helpers by revealing Baba through your powerful form. And Baba says, because you do this thing, you are my sweet spiritual children. Okay. Om Shanti.